But Sarah's not here tonight.
Didn't hear from Sarah, but I don't see her yet.
Okay.
And Eleanor.
Eleanor hasn't been to. Maybe we should reach out to her and see if everything's okay.
Did, but it was a while ago now.
Yeah.
Right before the meeting when we didn't have the quorum.
Yeah.
I guess we're there now. Tara, you have to do all your YouTube and hit the record button before Vicky can take over.
Yeah, hold tight, just a second. Should be on there.
Say hi to Vicky for us.
Okay.
I'm watching us on YouTube, so we are live.
I know, I just checked, I just double checked. Okay, I'm gonna push record so we can get started.
So we are starting the Westland Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting Thursday, September 9th. It's 5:30, calling the meeting to order. I know that Ken Warner sent out the agenda, and I just wanted to check and make sure that the agenda has approval for tonight. We have community comments, items of interest from the board, a little bit of reflection on summer successes in rec. We have a preview of the fall and winter rec plan, a little report on new partnerships, the Go Bond project update, the Willamette Projects visions and constraints, and just a quick check-in on how are we doing maintaining our goal of collaborative conduct. So is there anything that anybody would like to add or change with the agenda tonight? Do we need to approve the agenda?
Yes, you do.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I can see you, so you can raise your hand if you want. Okay. So the next item, the summary report from May was sent out. Our last meeting, we did not have a quorum, so we did not actually meet. And our great plan of meeting in a park and doing some activities in a park just didn't work out for logistics issues. And so it's been a while since we've all been together as a board. So way back in May was a while ago, but are there any changes to this agenda? Summary notes. Sorry. Can I hear a motion to approve? Or are there any changes?
I'll make a motion to approve the May meeting notes.
I'll second it.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. I believe we have some citizens with community comments. Do we have, how many people do we have, Tara?
We just have one. We've got
Okay.
Agent Anders from the Sunset Neighborhood Association.
Wonderful. I just want to remind all of us that we have 5 minutes per person. So do you want to bring our citizen on so we can hear what he has to share with us?
See there? There's Legion. Can you hear us?
Hi, Legion.
Hi, Legion. Welcome to the Parks Board. Do you know us, or do you want us to do a quick introduction?
I've met most of you kind of through the years in various places. I think it's all good.
All right, great. What do you have to share with us this evening?
Well, we wanted to talk a little bit about Sunset Park.
Great.
Sunset Park has been, the last few years, the city has been kind of renovating the park and cleaning it up a little bit. There were some trees that need to be removed and so forth. And it kind of began, the process began with the other Ken.
Ken Booster. Yeah.
Exactly. And then obviously the torch was passed on to Ken Warner. I wanted to say communication, both Kens visit us during our meetings and showed kind of the ideas of things. And we had a very positive experience, working with both Kens. The work is essentially, I guess, done now. There were some issues that were addressed in terms of the way the park was configured before, but I think that now have been resolved. Kids were, teenagers were climbing on the roofs of the shelters and so forth, and those have been moved. And I have to say, the construction of the new shelters and the bathroom has been phenomenal. We're really happy in a lot of respects with the park. I just wanted to address a couple of issues that kind of became clear after the work was done. Well, first of all, I want to say the approach that was taken with the design was to try to keep things more of a natural look, which I think was the right way to go. I think it's a little bit different and a little bit, and I think people really appreciate kind of the ambiance and the feng shui of all of that. But it just seems like because now that it's kind of completed, we went through a summer, and I would go by the park and just kind of check it out. Are the kids, what's going on there? How is it being utilized, essentially? And some of the other, folks in the neighborhood have done the same thing. And what kind of came to our attention was kids weren't hanging out. The kids weren't playing there. And that, obviously the parks, it's the sole purpose of the park is not just for kids, obviously. But we were hoping to have it be a place where the local kids could go and do their thing. And so we kind of sat back and scratched our heads and we're like, well, what's wrong? What's missing? It's not because, what was done there was anything wrong with it. But what we kind of figured out was that, what kids like to do is swing, slide, and climb. And they're just, what's there now doesn't really check those boxes off. There's a platform where kids can kind of go up some steps and there's like a sand play area where you can bring a bucket and some spoons and play around in the sand. And there's I wouldn't call it a slide. What's the word for it's on a wire and you slide down this wire thing.
Zip line.
Zip line. There's a zip line. The zip line is very cool and it's novel. And I do see it being used. But it's typically used with parents. Like they'll put their kid on it and kind of slide, let the kid be Superman as they slide down. It's not an interactive where the kids can chase each other and and play games with each other. It's kind of it's a different animal. So what we were hoping was to share with our thoughts that we really feel that the park, as lovely as it is being underutilized because we don't have things for the kids to climb. Just some ropes. We're not talking overly ornate things, but something that the kids can climb on think something, some sort of a slide system. I've seen some slide systems that are designed with kind of the natural design in mind, and a swing, some sort of a swing system. I sent, I think, Ken, an email with some photographs of some other parks that had kind of similar things. And they're not always just the typical swing set where you just sit in the little strap and go back and forth, although there's nothing wrong with those. I've seen some pictures of ones that are kind of like round. It's like a round shield-like thing where you can put a toddler and then the parent kind of swings this shield, kind of scooped shield thing. There we go. There's like some ropes that could be attached to some trees. And then further down, if you can scroll further down, there's a kind of a natural looking swing system. And then a little bit further down, I think I put something in there with, oh, that's right. I didn't put a slide in, but we have a very vocal person in our community who really wanted to have something for toddlers. And I think she was the one who suggested something along this. I realize this doesn't necessarily fit in so much with the natural vibe of things, but something she really felt that was kind of lacking was something for the little kids to do something with, like 1 to 2.5 year-old kids. Obviously, they're not going to be climbing on ropes like the others would, but it's a little something that will help to enhance the appeal for kids, aged 1.5 to 9 or 10. Because right now it's really not being utilized by that age group. And so we thought we would just make a suggestion, because it seemed a shame to have gone through all of the effort, the time, the money, the investment, and then have it be underutilized, shall we say.
Okay, I'd like to just point out that we've exceeded the 5. We're in 6 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
No, that's okay. Was there, I really appreciate Ken shared on screen the pictures that you had provided. That's excellent. And I don't mean to cut you off, but was there any other piece?
Oh, that's it.
Okay, awesome.
That's it.
Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Legion, quick question for you. You just mentioned kind of the ages from 1.5 to 9. Is that all across that spectrum, or is it heavier towards the toddlers, or does it lean more towards the more grade school?
More towards, maybe, to the 10-year-old, up, 8 to 10, 6 to 10, something like that. The toddlers, I have seen, I would say that the park is utilized more by toddlers than anyone else, for 2 reasons. One, I've seen some kind of toddlers on that zip line where the parent is kind of holding on to them while they're sliding down. And then I have seen a few kids. There we go. We already have the structure. That's not in our park, is it?
Yeah, so this is the one main structure you're talking about.
Correct. Exactly. But last time I was there, I didn't see the slides.
Yeah.
There now?
It's there now. The slide's there.
Oh, okay. Well, that should help quite a bit. So thank you, Ken.
This was
that will help.
Legion, as you know, the supply chain was a mess. This is a great company we work with, but we were kind of guinea pigs on their nature play, and they were milling all the poles, and there was just some complications that made it take longer than it should have. And now there's a Americans with Disability access here that they didn't ship us for about 4 months. So yeah, I just wanted to show everybody if they kind of had an idea what's there.
Well, that's great. I wasn't aware of that even being in place yet. So thank you.
I want to really thank you for coming to our meeting. And I love the idea of just reflecting on what has happened, what is happening, getting feedback. And I really appreciate your recognition of our staff engagement in doing some good work there. And it sounds like your vision is right in line with what actually ended up in there with slides and climbing rope and so forth. I think that continuing to monitor how our parks are used is really important, and having feedback from the people who use it, I think is really critical for us to always hear. But I really appreciate all of the visuals, and Ken, the update on where we were at, because the last time I was at Sunset Park, the slide wasn't in. It's a very different structure now. Thanks.
Absolutely, that will make a huge difference. And Ken, I guess I should ask the follow-up question is there anything else that hasn't arrived yet that, that will or is in the pipeline?
Well, I think we just, let me just, there is one bench that needs to go in. So let me just show a picture just for fun. So this is the kind of the water feature that, I guess I need to share my picture, don't I? Sorry. So there's a water trough feature that the Legion had mentioned. But as far as what's not in, we have one bench that mounts. I'll share it so we all can be on the same page today. So we have one bench that will look like this one that didn't come in until late. There are other benches at the park, and with everything we had going on, it finally came in a while ago, and we will probably put that in very soon. But since there were other benches there, it wasn't the highest priority. The other thing that's happened to us as kind of being a guinea pig, the zip line, we understand the kids love. It's about a 50-foot zip line. It has about a 7% grade. But we ran into a flaw with the machining of it. So it was down for about 2 months as it went back to the company, and they reimagined how it functions on the cable. They finally got it back to us. Another piece started to have mishaps. So unfortunately, the zip line has not been near as dependable as we like, but when it's there, we get positive responses. So the Legion, I did respond and kind of, so everybody kind of understands. I kind of addressed, the climbing ropes are phenomenal. I've never seen them commercially built. I don't know where that photo came from. So the thing with playgrounds are, everything has to meet consumer product safety inspections that are specifically designed for playgrounds. And they all have what are called fall zones. So I don't know, Legion, where that came from, but it obviously looks like it's possible. It could be safe. The second one, when we talk about swings, I know that there was at least 2 people that were upset. We had old swings at Sunset that were probably there maybe 40 or 50 years. And unfortunately, when we built this new playground and reimagined the park, we had to take the old ones out. And if anybody's interested, I have about a 10-page report by one of our inspectors of why these things came out. But the harder thing with swings, to put them in, the swings on the ends of the swings, where you're not swinging, you have to have a 6-foot space from anything for the fall zone. But more than that makes them hard are that if you have a frame that is 8 feet tall, and which is a small swing, most swings are 10 feet tall at their apex. What we need is 2 times the height on each side of the swing. So the one that Legion had a picture of looked like it was probably about 8 feet off the ground. So we would need, where those kids swing, we need 16 feet on each side of the swing. So total of 32 feet to put in a swing set. So that can become complicated there. We'd have to see if we can fit those. And then the last one, the fire truck, the biggest obstacle is it costs almost $22,000.
Right. Yeah.
I'll
be honest with you. I mean, that doesn't really fit with the natural setting of it. I think if it could be done, the swings, because you do have a slide there, so we've got something for the kids to slide. If you could put, I'll try to do a little more research and figure out where that photograph came from with the ropes.
Okay, sure.
Because those look like they were just kind of bolted on big trees like we already have there. So that might be fairly quick and fairly easy, simple to install. And then I'll see if I can find a little bit more about those swing sets.
Yeah, and as I explained, kind of Unfortunately, I wish every kid was happy, but as you guys might remember, this was about a $750,000 complete redo of Sunset Park. So naturally, after that, I'm a little disappointed that not every kid's happy, but financial priorities, kind of space, as I told Legion, might be issues and things we can look at. And as things evolve, we'd certainly be more than willing to, take a look and funding and those other issues that what might be done at the Park Legion. So let's keep communicating and, investigate. I'd love to get some more information from you.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it. Okay, and you're welcome to stay if you want.
Unfortunately, I have a guest in from out of town, so I've got to go play host
Enjoy your
and
evening then.
entertainment director. So have a great evening and cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you for your help.
Hey, Ken, thanks for coming so well prepared with the photos.
Well, it's a little easier when you know what their comments are going to be, so it helps.
Yeah,
We have to show you guys, what we're seeing.
I really appreciate the preview before the meeting and having that all prepared. I thought that was just really nice. Okay, so are there any specific items of interest from the board? It has been a little while since we met, and I just wanted to open up. Are there any burning issues that you wanted to bring to the table tonight? John?
I just had one question for Ken that maybe sometime. The parking lot redo and Mary S. Young, where the gravel parking lot is and the shed is, there's a bunch of stuff piled there. I just wondered if he knows when that's going to happen. I think it's not Park and Recs. I think it's city work, but I just wondered if he knew when that was going to happen.
Yeah. Not specifically, because what we're doing, John, we don't have an extra $250,000 to pave that like we'd like to.
Yeah, I understand.
So our engineering department is partnering. So they have their roads program going now, and actually Oregon City everybody has their roads program going right now. Cities, and they're doing grinding of old roads and then laying new asphalt. And we, our assistant city engineers, kind of coordinating that. We're going to put some, it's like a concrete powdery stuff, and then they're going to put the grindings on top, level it all. I don't have a specific date when it's going to be done, John, and we're trying not to impact, solve events and parking and soccer. But our goal is we got to get it done by the time it rains, because that's when we get in trouble with the current state of the parking lot and the future state if we're halfway done. So, and we're working with FEMA, and hopefully they will be paying a portion of that. It's about a $40,000 kind of intermediate fix for us. It will hopefully last a couple of years and make it maybe even a little better than it was, because we know it hasn't been perfect for a while.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? How are we doing on that, on our FEMA claim as a city?
Well, I think we're doing well. We're investing a lot of time to, try to recoup as much of our expenses that were caused by the disaster. 2 Mondays ago, FEMA was out, and they were looking at any projects that we have currently that were from the disaster that aren't done or completed. So that was, we had a pump station that had electrical pumps that got flooded, about a $75,000 repair that they're in the process. We had them visit Mary S. Young Park. They spent a lot of time out there. We have one of our most extensive boardwalk and staircase that they measured everything and looked at that was destroyed by trees falling on it. There was another fence repair they looked at, a small one that just hasn't got done yet. And then they looked at the parking lot. And the last project was down at Robinwood Park. We have 2 panels of iron fence that got hit by trees that just haven't been delivered yet, so we haven't replaced those. So we think the inspection went well, and Josh Cam, with our assistant finance director, is leading that charge, and It's a lot of paperwork and a lot of time, but we're hopeful to get some reimbursement.
Oh, that's great news. Jules, is there anything that you have from the city council that you'd like to share or get any input on or make us aware of that we should be looking at?
Well, there's something I wanted to bring to you that I actually haven't talked with the full council about yet, but I'm really interested in having a Pride event in June, the city of West Linn. Haven't done that before, but a lot of the other suburbs around us are doing it. Beaverton just had their second annual this year, or maybe it was third. God, time's just flying. And I'm not sure if that's something that the Parks Board could help us coordinate and put together. Of course, I'd bring it to council first just to make sure that everybody's on board with that. I don't see why not. But I think it might be a nice opportunity to celebrate and be inclusive and equitable in our city. Also, Building Bridges is doing a cultural event. I don't have the date in front of me. Is it the 25th, Ken?
Saturday, September 25th.
September 25th in Willamette Park.
Yeah, it's down at Willamette Park, and I think it's like 12 to 6. And they're planning on having BIPOC food booths, speakers, vendors from around the community and outside of our community. They're excited to put that event on.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that too. So I'd love to see us keep sort of rolling in that direction of maybe opening up some of our different events, which are already fabulous. I had great feedback from the summer events, even though it was a shortened schedule. Everyone was just thrilled. So anyway, I would just love to keep rolling along in our DEI work to make sure that we're having really inclusive events. So the Pride one, if you could think about that, maybe talk amongst yourselves and get back to me, and then I can bring it to council. I would love to get some feedback on that.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know. I mean, pickleball seems to have been resolved at Skyline, and we're doing some work at Hammerley with the tennis court conversion. And I know that there's one person who's contacted me and the city manager about having that be sort of a tennis court as well, but seems to be comfortable if it ends up just being pickleball. So everything's been just kind of quiet, and I really appreciated Legion's, I really appreciate that just really collaborative tone.
Mhm.
It's nice to have the public coming to and respecting our community groups when they come in and testify in that manner. I think I feel like we're moving in a good direction. So maybe
I
some
totally
of the contentious issues of the past are in the past. But I'll let you comment on all that, Ken. So thank you.
Yeah, so real quick, Jules, the Parks and Rec Department would love to be involved in a Pride month event or something. And just so people know, I don't know, maybe there has been a press release, there's been one internally, but Doug Erickson, our library director, is now our library director of library and community services. So Doug has been working with Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee already. And so he will be taking that on, and along with some of the homeless issues that we may experience more of or have in our community. So certainly bring up to the council that Parks and Recreation would love to partner with the library, and we love to partner with Doug and the staff. So that'd be great. Jerry, our city manager, and I met with Mike Laporte yesterday via WebEx at Hammerley. He's a big tennis player. He was hoping for tennis courts. We had a very cordial conversation, and he understands that we look at it as a system, and he's disappointed that he doesn't have a tennis court right next to him. But he belongs to a club, and he's he understood. So that was a good conversation. Skyline Ridge is resolved. Unfortunately, we're working with our contracted crew who about 14 days ago got hit with COVID. So they have about 2 people back. They are trying to do what they can at each facility, but some of their highly specialized guys aren't quite back yet. So they're moving along. They've sealed the cracks skyline, and they put a little bit of paint down at Emily, but it's hopefully those are done any day as soon as they can get back.
Right, I appreciate that. And with Pride event, I would think that making a cross group venture with the high school, and don't we still have an engagement committee?
The city council is looking at bringing back a youth council. Is that correct, Jules?
Yes, we're talking about that for sure. And also Annie Kaiser from the high school reached out and really wants to be supporting us in our DEI work. So as she's sort of in charge of all the different school clubs, so to speak. So I think we would have a good connection there, especially with Counselor Jones teaching there. I think we have some great opportunities.
Well, I'm certified in strategic DEI planning. I would certainly want to be part of that. So is that something that we need to discuss as a board, or is this something that staff is already committed to?
No, I think I think it's going to go to council and probably have them have a conversation, and then certainly, staff will certainly get involved. Like I say, along with probably Director Erickson at the library, and but I think something like that, if we can, have the board, any members of the board that want to be involved in a planning, it's a month long, so there could be, not just one thing, there could be many smaller things or whatever is decided by a group of some type.
Well, Mayor, I would love to talk with you more on this and look at what else the city is doing for that along those lines. So should we wait until we get direction from City Council to start talking about this?
That would be up to Ken. I mean, probably we should have all the council on board. Really, it's up to, I would think, Parks and Rec to decide what events they're going to have. Like most things don't come to us,
Okay.
But I can certainly get council approval and then we can.
Sometimes it's confusing. Do we do what council is directing, or does council do what we're advising? I'm sure it's somewhere, together, but I don't want to.
I know, and it's yes. Some things I consider just sort of more administrative, and not necessarily rising to council approval. So I would leave it up to Ken for that call.
Yeah, I think we can work with the library, and I guess if the board had a notion, you could, make a motion, advise council that you support events throughout Pride Month in 2022, and hope that they're on board, I guess.
Well, I'd like to just open. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this at this time? Jean.
Quick question. So in this city, is there like one area to go to for like DEI questions or community members if they want to participate? Or is it that the library has something and maybe our board has something? Or I know there's different oversight groups, but is there like a DEI
council?
We are working right now on creating the framework for a DEI community group. So, or board, it doesn't have a name yet, but that's actively what we're doing. So Doug and Jerry and other staff members and I sit in on those meetings. We're sort of working on it's like planning for planning to implement the, so we're getting there. We're getting much closer, but we're not quite there yet.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I looked on the website for the city today because I was mulling over some things, and I see where there's beginnings of it, but I didn't see, like contact this person for that So at university that I teach for, I'm a subject matter expert in diversity.
Oh.
So I would love to participate in any of the programs and help.
That would be great. Yeah, and my hope is to have something in place by the beginning of January. But let's hope there's no wildfires or ice storms or anything else that gets in the way of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Doug Erickson is going to be that staff contact, and then as the committee, evolves more. But I think if you're interested, I can certainly let Doug know, Vicki and Jane, that you'd like to be involved in whatever comes up, and then you can decide what that means for you later.
Well, are we in a position, if I made a motion that the Parks Board does support and recommend pursuing a collaborative effort for Pride events in 2022? Is there any maybe dialogue around that, or can we go ahead and maybe take a vote?
Yeah, I think I was just going to say, I was thinking about emotion and things. I think what you just laid out was good. It's a trend. This is just getting some momentum, and we want to be supportive of that. Don't have the specifics, but a general support, certainly I would support.
Okay, so do we have a second for the motion?
Sure, I'll second it.
All right, those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? All right, so PRAB, motion for City Council, knowing that we support and advise a collaborative effort for Pride event 2022. Awesome. All right, any other items of interest? Then let's go ahead and talk about the summer successes in recreation. After the uncertainty of COVID, trying to plan activities through the summer, I'm just amazed at what actually happened in West Linn. Tara, you want to just talk through a few of the things that you feel were successes in this crazy, uncertain year of COVID?
Well, sure. It's hard to believe it's September already.
I know.
So yeah, since our last meeting in May, we first started out pretty slow. We didn't open up here until about June. So we did put together our pollinator week, which was towards the end of June. Some on-site plant giveaways and some little crafts to give out and scavenger hunts for kids to do out in the park. Pretty successful. And we did get recertified for BCD USA, so we have another 2 years, so that's a bonus. All our pollinator work. So yeah, we did a lot of planning, especially for summer camps. Still kind of unknown, kind of up until camp started. But we had a lot of registrations. We programmed 141 camps. Internally, we did contract out with a couple other groups like Skyhawks, Jordan Kent Camp. We had about 910 registrations through our system. Skyhawks had like their best year in the last 5 years. They had about 534 registrations. So that was a lot of their camps. They did 30 camps, a little less than they usually do, but they were all full. They were pretty happy. We did max our camps out at like 10 to 15. So we couldn't provide camps for everybody. We had some wait lists, but we tried to stay on top of that and provide as much as we can. So that was good. We did our summer fun event in July. We kind of modified our fair a little bit. Thankfully, we were able to do that. We had a very successful car show, the most that Kevin has had in years. So he was pretty happy. We did inflatables for the kids. Our ambassadors were there. We had some food booths, a beer garden, entertainment. I would say about 1,500 to 1,800 people maybe throughout the day. It was just a one-day event. Pretty successful. We did hold our music in the park without pods, so that was great. We did have 3 concerts. 2 were very hot. I mean, we didn't have a great turnout. The one that was the coolest had the most turnout, but people were just excited to get out into the park and do that. We did have 6 movies in the park on Wednesday nights, and those we had a great turnout. Probably, over 100 people per movie. Our ambassadors sold some concessions, and great turnout. And then we had a lot of work parties with our great volunteers, a lot more than normal. So that was great. Open spaces, Mary S. Young, a lot of new groups coming through. And we still have some new groups that want to help participate in the cleanup, the ongoing cleanup. So we're working through that. We just put out our fall brochure. You guys probably saw the link for that, the Adult Center and our recreation guide. So with the Adult Center, yeah, they opened up too finally. Huge hit for them is card playing. They were really excited to get back into playing cards and exercise. And we're looking forward to our food drive-through event. That's going to be our big one in October. So we kept that as a drive-through in case something else happened. And then we're going to have our tree lighting and hopefully our holiday parade and our ugly holiday sweater run in December. So yes, registration started already. We have had a lot of dance enrollments, a lot of exercise enrollments. It's going to be kind of minimal this year because of the indoor sports. We're kind of limited on that with the schools being open now and not having space and guidelines.
So does the board have any feedback or recognition around the summer events and activities that occurred this summer?
Yeah, I would just say I went to one of the concerts in the park, and I just thought it was well done. Clearly, it was well received by the community, but Parks and Rec in particular kind of went out of their way. At least I brought some guests with me from out of town. Really impressed with Parks and Rec staff and how they handled questions and so forth about the event and so forth. So I saw it as a really positive thing.
Great. Anybody else? John?
No, I'm cool.
Okay.
I was just going to chime in and say, great job. I think a lot of people in the community are just, looking to get out and do different things, especially with the kids and stuff like that. And I know some neighbors, kids were involved with different things. So that was awesome. The heat for the concert was killer, but yeah.
I will just say my favorite is the concerts in the park, and I missed having the whole summer, but of course I'm so impressed that we had 3 when during the planning period we had no idea if we could even do it. So awesome job there. Looking forward to the summer dance. Once again, COVID. And one of the things that I was just going as a suggestion, if we could, in just a couple of key areas, maybe have a banner or something that has, our regular events, 3rd week in July will be the fair. 3rd week of December is X, that we could use that just catch people's eyes, because I don't think everyone looks at the website. I fielded a lot of calls about some of the activities this summer of, hey, are they doing this? Are they doing that? And, just I went through all of the flyers for every single event, but if we had just like one thing that has, this is everything, when, where, just something that they could have every Wednesday in Willamette, or print something up for putting out. I think that it reinforces community spirit, and it also brings people closer to the activities. And, you know, at the bottom, it can always say, check out the Parks and Rec guide, you know, little QR code or something that people can scan, take a look at. Just using a little bit more visibility, because you guys do an awesome job. You guys just do an awesome job, and I don't know if everyone realizes all of the great opportunities.
Vicki, you're talking about handouts, right? Not actually banners. I mean,
Actually, I would suggest both.
Yeah.
Having
So-
something that we can share, like during the Wednesdays in through August, and maybe maybe we even install. Here's a small banner along the street that we can use for, you know, the next season's events, to kind of, because those, you know, little canvas banner is not that much, to just say, here are this season's events and locations and dates.
Yeah, so in the past, if you recall, when we knew when things were going to happen a little more, we've printed postcards.
Yeah.
You know, and had some of those. We do have some large banners that are for the fair and street dance and different things that
Big ones over
that we've, you know, tried to put out on fences and different things. And you know, with schools not in session and you know, things, it was a challenging year. And I think one of the areas that we always struggle with is, you know, marketing and publicity. We don't have that big community center where people come. You know, so we're always looking for ideas of how do we get the information out, and it's something that, you know, we've tried to work on for years. And what's the best way? We always try to feed some to the Westland Tidings to support the local newspaper, and you know, but you know, it's kind of evolved, and so those are great ideas. And we did try to get involved with the Wednesday markets a little bit. Unfortunately, you know, this for the past 2 summers, we didn't hire a recreation staff that ran in-house camps because we couldn't manage that, you know, so we didn't have some of the extra staff that help us man those per se. So those are great ideas, and we can print some of that in-house. I know Tara prints a lot of stuff on our big plotter that we kind of make in-house banners that we try to put out, and it's something that we'll certainly continue.
Anyway,
We're working with Rebecca too on Main Street to get some banners made for some of our events too, because they can start to hang up on the, I think it's the street, maybe the light poles, or yeah.
that would be great. Okay, and then did you want to highlight any other activities with the fall and winter rec, or I don't know if you got into, you already go over like the ugly sweater and all of the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
The haunted.
Winter, we'll work on that. That'll come out in January, winter, spring. But we did open our rec basketball. We're hoping that's going to go this year. We did add kindergarten. So we're going to do kindergarten first and second. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I did kindergartner, but we transitioned 3rd through 8th grade back to our local nonprofit. So for those of you that don't know, we took on a lot of basketball about 4 years ago, and it was a great program to have for a recreation program. We had a nonprofit. We used to have it, and leadership kind of rolled over, and they went to just do the select program, the tryout program. And as I ran that, basically, for about 6 years, it was always kind of fragmented because they would be scheduling what they're going to do, and I was trying to schedule our league, and they'd end up holding tryouts later, and I couldn't get our team set up because we're 2 different organizations. So what we're doing is just transitioning them back into one house, and I've worked with them and partnered with their current board to create a new recreation basketball board, and we'll help them transition to be under one local nonprofit. So we hope and we envision that's going to be a lot better for the community with scheduling gyms, practices, coaches, all those things. So, but like Tara said, our Mini Hoopers program is now K1 and 2, which we ran for 25 years. So. case you get questions about basketball.
Okay, appreciate that. As you partner with these nonprofits, do you feel confident that they offer opportunities for people in poverty or who are otherwise have constraints against engagement?
Yeah, absolutely. We work with all of the local youth sports. There's really one organization, for youth sports in our community. We're really fortunate. We have boys lacrosse, girls lacrosse, soccer, baseball, softball, football, basketball. There's a volleyball, and some of them we partner with a lot closer because they use our facilities. But we do reach out every year and make sure that they are providing scholarships, and every one of them does a great job.
I think you just went mute.
Bill?
Now you're back.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Yeah, and they do a great job as far as we know, and I think they get rave reviews from most people providing youth sports.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from the board regarding any of the recreation? What has happened and what will be happening? All right, so let's go ahead and Ken, we have new partnerships.
We do. So just to keep everybody up, because it's been a while, we have a new pickleball club, Willamette River Pickleball, which has partnered with us. I think it was probably June. They are being treated very similar to our youth basketball, youth football, all those others. We provide them some reserve times on the courts to play pickleball. As you might know, pickleball is a very social sport. So this is just, they provide basically open gyms for pickleball where people show up, put your paddle in a queue, and you rotate in and out. They provide open houses for people to learn. They provide ladies' nights to expose ladies, because sometimes men can be abrasive and rude, and the women love to go to ladies' nights. It's very popular. And they provide all the equipment on site for people if they don't have paddles. They have a construction lockbox there so that their different volunteers can access equipment and get the group going. About 15 total hours a week. They're up to about 100 members. And they've done a very good job of welcoming everybody and exposing them to pickleball. Other one that we've partnered with is a company called Paddle Oregon, which is an online application that two local single fathers invented and created a company when they couldn't find equipment for them to go out with their young children out in the river. This actually started as a problem for us. They were down a Cedar Oak boat ramp. It doesn't have a lot of parking. We got a complaint from a resident. I ended up talking with them and investigating what they're doing, and it suggested, well, what if we try it at Willamette Park? It can be over in the non-motorized boat area that we're going to improve. It can be used. So we signed a short-term contract with them. They're providing the city with 10% of revenue from their business. They've got great reviews at Willamette Park. They have top-of-the-line equipment. Paddleboards, kayaks are over about $2,000 equipment. They're very personable. Both of them do a great job. They do some parties. They're just a great partner for us. We're looking at a long-term agreement that hopefully will solidify in the next couple of months. But it can be a revenue source for us. The contract we have right now is the city is receiving 10% of their gross revenue. And we're exposing people and getting them out on the water. So we're proud of that sponsor and that partnership also. Those are really the two new ones we have. And if anybody has some questions about either one of those, I just certainly answer for you.
Board have any feedback or input,
Yeah, absolutely.
questions?
Yeah, my family have used them on the water and they were great. It was fun.
Ken, what kind of hours or season of operation do you see them having through the end of September, or are they already gone now that Labor Day has passed?
No, our current little contract goes through the end of October.
Okay.
And we are also outside of kind of that the app for rental. It's basically probably didn't explain it. You can't rent on site. It's basically through their app. It's kind of like Uber for Uber Eats for outdoor people. They're on site, but they just have the equipment they need for groups that show up. Outside of the rentals, though, we are also working on programs with them. They want to lead some kayak trips up through the Narrows. Their kayaks are actually paddle kayaks, and they're going to do some fishing trips on the river, so people can fish from the paddle kayak. They're very stable. They'll either let you bring your fishing equipment, or they'll provide all your fishing equipment. We're looking at doing a couple of events that are in the infancy, maybe paddleboard races through the Narrows, and just some different events. So we're excited. They're a great group of guys. You can see they have a large fiesta, I guess they call it. Or I took it away from you. Sorry. It's like the big paddle boat, kind of like a big paddleboard, and they're investing a lot of money in their equipment and looking forward to next year. One of the things that they want to do, if I can swing an agreement, Cedar Oak is a phenomenal area to paddleboard, canoe, kayak, but we do have a limited parking down there, especially for personal vehicles in the summer. If I can swing an agreement with the school district to utilize Cedar Oak Park Primary School for a shuttle bus pickup location, they have offered to invest and purchase and pay all the expenses of an 8-person golf cart to have their rental people meet them at the school. They'll shuttle them down to the park. They'll get them their equipment. When they're done, they'll shuttle them back up to their vehicles at the school. And that was something we thought of that would found our parking problem at Cedar Oak. And so hopefully if we get through COVID and the schools are willing to talk about other opportunities, we may see if we can do that next summer.
Well, I'll just second what John said. I kayak a lot. I use that place in Willamette Park. They are great people to have there. They add a lot of value. Their equipment is fabulous. As a matter of fact, their equipment's better than mine. I was thinking, why am I toting all my kayak stuff around? And I happened to be there at the end of the day when everybody was coming in. And the way that they handled all of the exiting folks, they took care of everything. I mean, I think for our community, I would just as soon use their muscle and their equipment than to lug my stuff around. It's really the best setup and operation I've seen when it comes to paddling. And the guys are just so nice and just a great presence down there. Really nice to all of the people, and really, I think add a lot to that little kind of funny non-motorized boat launch is what we call it, but it's just a funny little cement path. So
antique boat ramp.
Antique, okay. Any other feedback or thoughts on that? Okay, then let's talk Go Bond project update. Ken, I know you sent out a Excel spreadsheet that.
Hopefully we can see that. When we start right at the top, athletic fields. The last project here is Hammerley Field Improvements and a fountain. And one of the things that we'll be doing with Hammerley in the next probably 3 or 4 months is talking to our youth sports groups that utilize those fields. If you've been to Hammerly or had kids, you have two baseball, softball fields that face each other with dirt infields. But the center fielders would be standing back to back at about 110 feet from home plate. So, they're trying to use it for two teams or, two practices or two games. You can't really get past T-ball, to be honest. So we're going to really talk to them about, do we need two? Should we do one nicer field versus two small ones? And this will go along with the other topic that isn't on our agenda, but kind of what happens with the Oppenlander bond measure that the city's looking at next May. And I can explain that if you haven't heard of that. So that one's, we're working on what is going to happen. Bensky Park is completely done. We do have a neighborhood association that, kind of like Sunset, wants to look at reinventing Bensky Park. Bensky has a very large lawn area that they kind of talked internally about community gardens or something else. So while, we don't have plans for that yet, it's something that could happen.
I just want you to highlight the fact that, go back to Bensky, that you were able to have significant savings against budget by using Westland staff.
Correct. Yeah.
Investing in staff saves us money. This is a good thing.
The irrigation project saved us, probably $35,000. So thank you. Hammerly Park, we're looking at the 4 pickleball courts, which are moving forward slowly. As I mentioned earlier, there's 2 stanchions up and green paint. Still waiting on the gate, the two swing gate to come in from the manufacturer, but hopefully it'll be done very soon.
So for that, do we have a couple of risks? 1, supply chain, and 2, our contractors is that where we have COVID contractors?
Yeah. I mean, yes, they're recovering from COVID. The other thing, paint supply has been an issue, my understanding, and from what they told me, there's a couple major paint companies that didn't have what they needed, but they found what they needed. They were looking for the blue that is at Skyline Ridge, where Handle is green. So, but they did find the paint. So I think they're on schedule there if they can get their staff back.
Bye.
Maddox Woods, we're looking at a viewing patio that we're going to partner with the Rotary. We will hopefully do that possibly later this fall or early spring. Maddox Woods just went through sewer connection, had failing septic systems. So over 4 months, we had to be connected to the city sewer, which kind of was in the way of doing the viewing patio because we'll have to put some pieces back together. Marius Young Park, the only thing that we haven't done is landscape repair. There's another bridge and boardwalk that was actually across the creek, bottom of the hill, and it was damaged. The slide actually started and damaged it when we had a previous giant windstorm in 2017. And the bank's been stabilized and okay from a geological standpoint, but we just need to repair a major boardwalk and bridge. McLean House Pavilion is in process. It's been submitted to the Planning Department. The application. We just had to do another survey. We're working with the volunteer architect to look at the structure and kind of some of the things that with code issues, through the planning department. We have a consultant that's working on that with us to get that into the land use process. We think that's about a $250,000 project that the Friends of McLean House have put together, because they've now added a restroom and a storage room under that little pavilion. So that hopefully soon we'll go through both the historic review board when it's complete to make sure it meets the architectural designs of the clean house. And then it'll also go through the planning commission for approval, two separate avenues.
So
Mid Hill Park,
before you go on, do you believe that their fundraising efforts are going to be able to make up the difference between what was budgeted, which I believe was $100,000, and what you said it's actually coming in at more than twice that?
is we, they are confident that they can fundraise. You know, we just want to get it to a point where there's an approved design so you can really show people. The other thing, Vicki, that I'm hopeful for, we are starting to look at some different grants that we can possibly leverage some projects. Maybe we don't have to spend as much bond money on those projects. We're also starting to work with Metro. So Metro passed their bond measure in 2018, and part of their green spaces and open bond has what we call a local share that comes to local communities. And Westland's portion of that is about $1.4 million.
Wow.
And so we are just starting conversations with Metro, who have a 31-page handbook of how you access the funds through local share. And there's a lot of different engagement processes they want us to go through and get projects approved. And we think we have some projects that we can utilize that local certain money and replace some bond money. So we're going to have to wait and see, but that's kind of what we're looking at. And obviously that's a little ways away, but I hope that made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Mid Hill Park, we have a bridge that needs to be replaced. That was actually damaged in the storm, even though it was old. So we'll be getting that undercarriage put back together at Mid Hill. North Willamette Park, our city staff, once again, has saved us a lot of money over the past 2 weeks. They have repaired some damaged drainage issues that we had up above the tennis courts, where water was just kind of flowing down a ditch. Didn't really work. It was supposed to be a catch basin. It didn't work. We had water that was seeping continuous kind of into the tennis courts there through a giant rock wall. So we were able to do a couple things. They fixed the drainage issue. We have a two-bay swing there that was, over time, didn't meet compliance with safety and distance from the end of it. Like we talked earlier, you're supposed to have 6 feet. It didn't, so they were able to cut the whole bank back and restack boulder wall. So it saved us a lot of money. Now our next step is probably Monday, I'll be soliciting bids for a border to put around that, like we did at Hammerly, to hold in the chips and to extend the concrete pathway up there. Then we can put in irrigation and reseed the grass. So we have a lower culvert issue that they'll probably be able to replace also. So Eagle Scout's going to do a boardwalk.
Great.
Palomino Park, our staff was able to take this project also. We worked with the neighbor association. They wanted us to add a little more playground equipment. And this was another one that didn't have a concrete curving around it. So our staff was able to really make this look nice. We had a grade change and put in a rock wall, put the concrete border around it. Added the ADA path. The last thing we have out of the back of the park, there's a trail that goes down some steep hills, and we need to repair some stairs that will more likely be done by an Eagle Scout in the future. Robinwood Park, we solved some drainage issues, and now we'll be looking at coming up with a solution for the court surfacing. We haven't got there yet. It's not a horrible surface. The paint just doesn't look great. It's safe. You can play on it, but we'd like to possibly put it back and make it look a little better. Sahali Ilahi was the project we completed, the nature play there, along with a grant from the state of Oregon. We're looking at a grand opening sometime with the neighborhood association, but with COVID issues, I think we're going to they've decided to push until next spring. Skyline Ridge has been resolved. We can get our contractors going. We will get it painted back to tennis, hopefully soon. Sunburst Park has been done for quite a while. We discussed Sunset Park, we know is done, and Legion did a great job letting us know how it's being used. Kenner Creek Park is done as far as these projects go. The next three projects are actually our next agenda item.
Before we get there,
Yep.
Don't take it down yet.
Don't take it down, I'm sorry.
Sunset Park came in like 50% over budget. What was the?
That's a great question. So it was, so our previous infamous director originally started the budget at about 400,000. But when you looked at what had to happen, the construction for the restrooms, the pathways, all that contract alone was $495,000. Then the playground equipment, and we installed all of it, was about $85,000. Consultants for the playground, the nature play was designed by Learning Landscapes, a consultant at about $40,000. The original design for the restrooms and the paving pathways through the architect was, I think, about 25,000. So
It was just really underestimated to start with.
It was, you know what, I don't know how it really happened, but it just happened. And we also, if you remember, we had, along with Emily, we had all the hazardous trees removed.
That's
We
right.
had 17 trees removed, and I think it was, another about 15,000 to get that done. So I've been explaining that a lot. I mean, 2 years ago, but it was just looking at the expenses, it's what it cost me.
And clearly, you are really doing a great job on the budgets on these projects. So this is definitely an outlier. So yeah, no criticism.
No, and a lot of them, I mean, were 2017. And, things have changed in 4 years, and even some objectives have changed.
And the cost of everything is skyrocketed. Okay, I know that you didn't go through the Willamette Projects because you have, you said that's the next item. Does the board have any comments or questions about the projects that Ken presented, or any feedback? Any opinions? Good, bad? Okay, then let's go ahead and take a look at the agenda item 10, Willamette Projects Vision and Constraints.
So when Vicki and I talked, I don't know, a week or 10 days ago, we kind of, there's been a lot of brief conversations, I guess, about Willamette Projects, the importance of these along the river. They were intertwined at one time with the White Oak Savannah and funding. So we felt it would be important to make sure that the board understands these projects and kind of where we are and what the complexities are. So we have the three projects: Willamette Park improvements, Willamette River Greenway Trail, and Willamette Riverfront Park. Now, BD 1818 kind of combines two things. The other one, if you recall, BD 1817, we didn't discuss. That is the project that is down by the Willamette Falls Locks, historic city hall, that has some access to the river and a fishing dock. And I apologize, I didn't mention it previously, but that one, we're just kind of putting that on hold until we know what's going to happen with historic city hall. What does the I-205 going to look like? The Willamette paper mill, wants to somehow improve their access and be a functioning business forever. PGE is down there. So there's some big decisions that are bigger than our little maybe trail to a fishing dock. So we're just waiting on those. So the Willamette Projects, when we first start, we look at our master plan. And I know you can't read this, but what this is really an overview and talks about, the Willamette and Tualatin Rivers, are defining features of West Lynn's. Our community has always desired greater river access. The recommendations are to prioritize our trail improvements along the river, establish esplanade along the river, where people can walk, bike, shop, view Willamette Falls, develop non-motorized boat launches, swim docks, boat rentals, and other things along our river. So the first project we looked at is PD 1816, which is the Willamette Park improvements. And what this project is looking at is both street improvements, 12th to Tualatin Avenue, additional improved parking in 2 areas, improved non-motorized boat access with Disabilities Act pathway to the beach, removal of debris from the beach area, potential seasonal non-motorized low dock system. So this is an overview of the entire park. We started working with a consultant to lay out this plan. We almost have a fully developed scope of work. So we're just looking from 12th Street to Tualatin Avenue. And as we zoom in a little bit, like I said, one of the main things we want to do is we want to maximize parking for this non-motorized boat area. And we can do that in 2 areas. There's a small area by the gazebo. We're going to reconfigure ADA parking and hopefully get maybe 3 more spaces. And then this isn't what the parking will look like, but that old gravel wood chip area that's a mess where people park now, we want to maximize all the parking we can get there, and our firms will help us design that. The beach area, I call it a beach. I don't know that it'll ever be a sand beach, but the access to the water, that's, old concrete blocks, and it isn't a historic boat ramp, but we want to clean it up, provide an ADA access so that anyone with disabilities of any type or strollers or walkers can get down to that area. And then the last thing in the water, Oregon State Marine Board is interested in working with us to possibly get a seasonal dock system there, which would be a low dock system, if you're not familiar, that are designed for kayaks, because they're not as tall as a traditional boat dock. Our Public Works Department is going to partner with us, and we're going to do the full street improvements, and that would include a curb and sidewalk along the upper portion, which is the orange line. The interesting thing about this, most street projects are relatively simple and straightforward because they're in a public right-of-way. This street project and this whole project is actually on land that's owned by PGE. For those of you that don't know, PGE, kind of look at a map lower, PGE owns this whole strip of land. They actually own up past the Tualatin Bridge there into the Tualatin, and this is what they own for their electric generation and part of their process through Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and their licensing process. So this does need to go through land use. We are trying to get the first phase done, which is the upland part, the street, sidewalk, and parking. Which will be an easier push through land use. Then as we get down to the river, there are a lot more studies we have to do for the water resource area, no rise certificates, and work with regulatory agencies as we go on the river. Do we want to do questions now, or do we just want to breeze through?
Keep going.
Okay. So the next one is the Willamette Greenway Trail, and this is actually a map from Mexico. This trail is part of the Regional Trail System Plan. This is one project that we think we might be able to utilize local share money from the Metro bond, and possibly save some of that money we have in the bond somewhere else. So this is in our Trails Master Plan, just so everybody knows, it's identified from our 2013 plan. So as recommended, this is basically a trail that would go along the river where possible. Basically start at Burnett Landing Boat Ramp and go all the way down to Cedar Oak Boat Ramp. And our master plan doesn't impede on any private property. We have on-river options, and then there's off-river options. And that's, traditionally, we don't want to affect anybody's property rights or values because there's some line there. But, this is a multi-year project, obviously. Phase 2 is what we're working on. And, we currently have phase 1, which we'll look at, but, that trail went from the boat ramp, down to this purple piece of property. And this is just to show you kind of the complexity of the project and ownership. It's a little outdated, but all of the yellow is all owned by PGE, which has been a very willing partner through the years. Obviously, they own most of our park, and we have a long-term lease. When we did phase 1 of the trail, they were very cooperative with easements to allow us to do the trail. The one thing with PGE, the current operating mill, Willamette paper mill that has this large pond, kind of the second pond downriver that is still functional. They have a lease, to operate their mill there. So they have kind of, tenant rights where we can't just go to PGE. We also get to partner with Willamette Paper on that property. There's these little purple areas here that I apologize. This says Westland Paper. It's now Willamette Paper. They currently still own those. And then the pink area was the historic or the old Blue Heron Pond that was purchased by Clackamas County and Water Environment Services, that the city was hopeful that 35 acres might come to the city because they only needed 4 acres for the outflow. But over the past year, this is now all in private ownership. An individual has purchased it. So makes some of the things we looked at possibly a little more complicated. So this is kind of what our trails master plan has in it, where it has the Riverfront trail. This would go right by the pond, an ideal trail. Alternate trail was, away from this, goes behind the pond. That kind of is there to let Willamette Paper know that, hey, we want to talk to you and work with you, but we have a multitude of options. So this is just kind of shows you a little more overview of what that looks like. The 2 options, this is Bulk Street, which starts at gravel road, very heavily walked road as we speak today. Probably hundreds of people every day just walk through this part. The vision, our current trail, goes to about right here. The vision is to keep this going all the way on the river if ever possible, and we can negotiate with different property owners. So where we are today, we realize the significance of this trail and getting people to and from Willamette to the other part of town in a safe manner. So we have started working. We've met with Willamette Paper Company. We've met with PGE. We've showed them potential conceptual routes. We are working on reviewing easements that exist. So right now, since this is the point of least resistance with conflicting property owners, this is the trail that we are working on now. This portion of the route is basically a continuation of Fifth Avenue, which used to be a portion of it, an old trolley that used to go on this track. If you were to come down Bull and you turn left on 4th Street right here, many people are walking there already. So this is a section of trail that we are taking to get done right now. These dotted lines are just kind of an area that we know gets a little contentious with what are we going to do on Willamette Falls Drive, heavy traffic area with the Willamette Paper Mill. There was recently in front of council the Willamette Falls Drive plan that has bike paths and ped paths, and where we work with them to figure out how we go roadside here. So that's where we are, and we're trying to get this to move in a relatively fast manner as far as working with another public agency in TGE. The next project, the second one of 1818 is the Willamette Riverfront Park. So this was a statement that was in our master plan to create a community destination and year-round social hub that provides an extraordinary riverfront experience. Kind of crossed out one thing because now we are partnering with private property owners potentially instead of Tri-City Sewer District. So that makes it a little more complex, but the vision of our master plan, our community was pretty broad. We haven't had the success with a swimming pool. Kind of everyone we engaged felt swimming lessons and swimming, since we have two rivers, is ultimately important. So what can we do on the river? And this was kind of that concept of plaza, swimming dock, non-motorized boat launch, and boathouse, maybe rent, different equipment, whatever it might be, and have a great meeting place. So just kind of zooming in, just to show you again, the area that we're looking at is, in this area, which kind of zooms in here, which, for the most part, 80% of it is in private ownership now. So we'll be, as the private owner comes in someday to the city with a plan of some type, whatever that means, we will certainly engage an opportunity for developing something on the river if possible. So sorry about that. What our master plan group looked at kind of was this facility of this type, which is in Portland. And they're not completely done developing it either, but hopefully it'll give some of you an idea.
Do you need to open the hyperlink? Am I the only one not seeing anything?
No, I'm not seeing anything.
Okay.
Nothing's happening.
You tell me it didn't share.
It shared the screen, but the link didn't open.
Well, that's
Always
just
helps the
ridiculous.
screen with a link.
I was having a great time watching it on my screen.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good.
Okay, I apologize for that. I'll send it to you. We'll move on to the not so glamorous picture that will show you a little bit differently. Okay, can we see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It's not near as glamorous as the video that I can forward, but this is the Duckworth Docks that really, is just kind of a visionary thing that some of our master plan engagement looked at. How can we use our river, and be creative? Because if you haven't been on the river above Willamette Falls locks, it's really, especially in the summer when they put up boards on the Willamette Falls, it's really more of a lake than it is a river.
Right.
The current is very slow. It's just a huge body of water that would be great for swimming. So these are just kind of some pictures I threw together just to kind of give you an idea of what, might be possible someday. And that's it. So I hope you're a little more informed, and I'd certainly answer any questions that I can about those projects that give you a better idea of what we're doing or where we're trying to go.
Hey, Ken, can you go back to your very first kind of aerial shot of the park? Just get a quick question on that.
One with the design.
Yeah. There, it showed like this little bump out into the river and it said 150 feet. My initial thought was, oh, that's kind of like a swim area. But now I'm thinking it's not because you just identified that in a different area.
Yeah.
And I guess my ultimate question is not knowing where or how long it would take to get to a swim area down at the other section. Is there an opportunity within somewhere on this map to just put in maybe a swim area that would only be used until we get the more permanent one done?
Well, I guess your first question, the 130 feet, it's a great question. I think it's just their scope of work area, kind of. I mean,
Okay.
the complexity of this area is, this is the Tualatin River coming in. There's a lot of current there. I'm not a hydrologist, and Oregon State Marine Board thinks we can do it, but I'm wondering how you're going to put a dock there, even, a seasonal dock, because there is current.
Mhm.
I think to answer your question, I would say anything's possible if we look, what happens right now is the spring and summer, this dock.
Everybody swims off that.
Yeah, it kind of becomes like Newport and the SEALs, but they're actually 15 to 18-year-old high school kids.
That's so true. That's so true. I've been down there and seen that.
Conflict between, we're not supposed to allow them there and boats are coming in. But, I suppose, somewhere, would be possible. I don't, the question becomes, and I don't even know the answer to this yet. Putting a dock or a boat ramp, putting things in the water is a major undertaking from a permitting standpoint.
Sure.
So I don't know, could it be as simple as buoys that kind of, designate something? I'm not sure. That's a great question. There isn't a lot of access to the river, except for in the improved park right here. And obviously that's, kind of where the boats are. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know if you're placing anchors that define like a swim area as opposed to sticking in piles, it's a whole different permitting thing.
We've never done that. I mean,
yeah.
I'm just guessing it's something that could be looked at.
Yeah. Well, I see the need down there with all the kids swimming off that dock and just wondering as we're kind of thinking through things, is there a way to move them out of that? Because I know there's boats that are coming in and kids are swimming, and it's just trying to, just from a safety standpoint, if there's something that can be worked out there. I love the long-term solution because I think that gets to what everybody's looking for. But in the near term, is there something we can do?
So it is the issue with the move to private ownership. Is that a constraint that we can't overcome? I just realistically, do you feel confident that we can still forward with the plan?
I think it's certainly potentially a constraint, but it could also be an opportunity. Until I think the private owner comes into the city and, wants to have a pre-application and talk about what his vision is, we don't have much opportunity to engage, I guess, because we don't, as years ago when Water Environmental Services first bought this city, I'm guessing 8 years ago, put together a blue ribbon task force to look at what the best use of this would be. And it started out, it went the spectrum from a casino to, it all stays apart. There were lots of ideas, and at the end of the day, most of it's in the floodplain, except for on top of the pond. Not that you can't build up the whole area. There was 3 or 4 little pieces that could be developed and, cut off for homes. I heard that the owner has called the city and kind of said, I'm having some plans, that might be worth talking about, but we just don't know. At least I've never heard, and it officially hasn't put in anything to start a conversation.
All right. Do you think it would be premature? Do we need to start looking at alternatives, or it sounds like you're moving forward with the private owner trying to make this work. So maybe it would be premature to start looking at, if we can't do this, what are the alternatives? So
Question, and I think our alternatives would be probably, in my opinion, to move it upriver, where our current existing phase 1 trail is, that's PGE owned land. Maybe, but if you build it, they will come. So, we have a trail. I don't know. I mean, now you got to park cars, and we know that, past the boat ramp, there's homes there that aren't necessarily going to be real excited having more traffic, in front of their homes, whether it's with boats or not with boats. And, so there's certainly, things to resolve, all along the way down.
well, I remember that one of the things I really loved about the original plan is it really optimized industrial or unused land as opposed to really infringing on residents' properties.
Right.
So this is, is there any support or resources that you need to move this forward?
I think the projects that we have moving forward, are doing that. Both of them just take time. The waterfront park, I think, is really a wait and see, unfortunately, for that private owner to come in and engage the city with thoughts and concepts and see what we can, at worst case scenario, we'll continue our riverfront trail. Best case scenario, let us put a waterfront park and enhance whatever the vision is from that private owner.
Super. Are there any other questions or concerns from board members? Is there anything we should be asking Ken that we haven't?
Hey, Ken, I'll throw out a question. You brought up Oppenlander Fields, and I read the statement. I've kind of been following the story and so forth. My question, kind of a general one, is as the city looks at a bond for the purchase price, are we taking into account the maintenance and facilities care and so forth that will go, the bill for that would go with owning it now?
We'll certainly have those conversations, but this is a community-driven potential acquisition. So we will be working with the Save Oppenlander group and soon engaging the community on what does this bond measure look like, because my concerns that I've expressed and put together, some information for that group, and we've met with them. This property has no restroom. The school district really hasn't used it in well over a decade, and they had the capability, and rightfully so, to say our main focus is education and high school sports, and if you want to use our facility, that's okay. Get a porta potty and use it. The dilemma I have is that as soon as this becomes a park, if it's acquired, the expectations completely change. So things that we've talked about, kind of essential that we feel need to happen, is restrooms. accessible ADA pathways so that people, can get around that have any type of mobility issues. Maybe the parking lot that's gravel, but that's probably not essential. But, those are just things that we're conversing about. The other thing that we will be, and this will engage the community on these topics. And the other thing is, what are the other city needs going down the road? As we already have a go bond pass, this would be another go bond, and what are the non-park or whatever city needs in the future, so that we, are engaging the community, but letting them know what the concerns are for the city. So it's evolving, and it looks like there is going to be a vote in May. We'll see what happens then. It won't increase. It won't. On measure won't increase our maintenance budget necessarily. Now, we haven't really met, but I think most of you might know that our parks bond fee was increased more than 5% this year, and it did allow us to hire 2 park maintenance workers, additional park maintenance workers. One of them was an internal hire, so he was already working with us as a seasonal, and we hired, so it wasn't an increase for the summer. The other one we hired, and Jack started with us on September 1st. So that's a big plus for us that we have 2 more park workers, and Oppenlander would put us right back where we were. But that's okay. Just for your
Question.
Just so we're on staffing. We have one of our fabulous rec coordinators who's leaving us, Dawn Cole, who's done a great job with events, is leaving us the end of the month. She's actually kind of working part-time now. So we're interviewing and hopefully going to hire a new person on September 17th. So quick update, Vicky, on staff.
I'm sorry, I just had the question, and I should know this, and I don't. I'm sorry. With the bond for Oppenlander, I know that it covers the purchase price, but does the bond actually cover all of the improvements, capital improvements? Because I know it's a capital bond. It's not going to cover ongoing operations and maintenance, but is it purchase and improvements?
It is not, I mean, the only thing that's really been talked about to date, officially, is just the purchase. I mean, but that's the conversation going forward. And even the Save Oppenlander leadership understands that, there may need to be some more money than the actual determined purchase price to transition it to a park. Now, the city wants to get that information from the community, and I've expressed, just like you, restroom and ADA access, I think, are essential. But at the same time, we don't want people to view us as the ones that are trying to build this thing from 6.5 to 12 so it will fail. So, we want the community to let us know what's important to them. Because, for our council and for Save Oppenlander, I've kind of thrown out a menu with costs. There's a lot of dog walkers that go there. Do they want an improved dog park? Do they want more artificial turf for athletic fields? It makes sense in an athletic field complexes to have a play structure of some type for those younger siblings and things. So, but these are all, just kind of menu items that we would put out there that could happen there. See, kind of what the community would like.
I will just say, with all of the analysis that went into our Parks and Rec master plan, our actual park facilities rated really quite high. I mean, that was an area where we were strong. And it just seems odd if we're going out for a bond for a parks related effort, that we wouldn't be targeting something that was actually identified as a priority in the master plan. And I understand it's a community group that's bringing this forward, but I feel we have a responsibility to look at what the research actually indicated, and it did not indicate that we needed more park property. It indicated that we needed more facility, like rec center. So it's just, if it's just a purchase without any improvements, without a plan, I don't think that it's in alignment with the master plan.
Well, I look at two things when I think about this. As a taxpayer in the city of West Linn, I already own that property because the school district owns it, and I pay taxes to the school district. So it's interesting that a piece of property that I own is already going to be sold back to me. I've had a number of people talk about that won't be in favor of the bond. The other thing for a parks board is that if what they do with that property is they turn it into a residential area, and there's not a lot of places to build homes in West Linn right now, we get system development charges, which come to the parks, which help us with parks that we have in lots of places that we can make improvements on. So from my standpoint, I would say that, that's what I would like to see done. I'd like to see that developed into homes, and that will be the best thing for our other parks around the city of West Linn. I don't think we need that piece of property right now. I mean, I have runners that use it. We do some running on it, and a lot of other people use it for their dogs and stuff, but it's not a very used park. The school doesn't use it anymore at all. So that I don't think it's a place we need to spend a lot of money and a bond to improve. I think it's something that maybe we would be better off if they didn't do that.
Well, especially, it's not as if the school district is giving the city a really awesome deal. This is premium developable property. Yes. And they have a responsibility to get the best price for that. So yeah, it does not seem very strategic. Now, I've spent lots of hours up there with soccer games and other events, but and appreciate it very much. It just doesn't, I just don't think it's strategic. I don't think that it's meeting what the research indicated were really our city's needs. So I'm really glad that it surfaced in tonight's discussion. I don't know, any other thoughts from other board members?
I think just some of the discussions I've had with folks in the neighborhood, I think no one wants to have this, they're supportive of the park and the purchase to retain its value. But personally, I'll let society decide how that plays out. But what I don't want is it to impact what we're already trying to do, right? So there should be no harm to what we've already laid out. If this is going to be an addition to it and there's new funds for that, okay, fine. That's fine. That's what everybody has voted for. But it shouldn't come at a cost to a budget that's already, been defined, and Ken's and team are doing a great job in implementing that plan.
Well said, Todd. Any other comments? Yeah, Jane?
I know Ken, you said in June or maybe the April city council meeting, one of them about when we were talking about the budget and stuff, that if you could, you'd get 3 to 4 more additional full-time employees is what you really need to run everything according to plan, so to speak. All of maintenance and execute the things that we have listed. So keeping that in mind, is it possible for you to put a package together for the community so everyone is fully informed when it does come time for a vote, that, how much are the improvements, the ADA, and maybe the parking lot is excessive, but certainly everyday maintenance, do you need a full-time person because it's so many acres, that kind of thing, to put like a financial package, economic package together so everyone knows, what these additional expenses would be, and then they can make their own personal judgment about it.
Yeah, I think from the capital improvements side of that, with the restroom, and I think if that's what's going to be on the bond, that's going to be completely laid out in the bond. The purchase price is 6.5. the restroom is 500,000, the pathways are 200,000, and now the bond is 7.2, whatever that comes up to. So that would be clearly defined, and I think we can certainly put together an information package. Because a 10-acre piece of property, I mean, it's another restroom to clean, it's another, 9 acres to mow and maintain, and, that's just time. But we can certainly, start to explain what that means from a, staffing standpoint.
Yeah, I think just making sure that the information's available, I think is
Well, and I
a good
think that,
idea.
and I think where the Parks Board can help, I think it's very interesting as city staff, we can talk about these things all we want till the time it's submitted for the ballot. And we can still talk facts. But it's like at that point, we're all hesitant to really talk much because, with election laws and, you say the wrong thing at one point, now you're going to get a complaint filed against you or something. So that's where the Parks Board at some point could, just information, still factual information, but can help disperse that prior to the election, just like our city council does, with the community involvement. Because technically you could either advocate for it or you could advocate against it as a board or obviously as individuals, of course. But
Okay. All right. Any other updates, Ken?
I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we're pressing up against our end time. I just wanted to end with a quick check-in. It was one of our objectives this year that our meetings were held with collaborative conduct and respectful dialogue. And I just wanted to just check in and see how people are feeling, how we are meeting that objective, or if there's anything else we can do to make it better.
It's fine.
You're good?
Yep.
Okay. It's important to check in. This was a major issue after last year. So, we're about more than halfway through. So just wanted to ask any ideas to make our meetings better, more meaningful, more respectful, anything? If you have anything, never hesitate to shoot an email. And always looking for opportunities to make it better. I wanted to really recognize Ken and Tara having all of the links in the invite with the project update. Everything was super organized, made great sense, and made it, we were able to get through a lot of information tonight. And just really want to say thank you for putting in that effort. Good work. Are there any other comments or questions from the board? Then we'll be closing tonight's meeting. Good job, everyone, and we will